Alright guys, welcome you once again to my YouTube channel. Now in this tutorial I will be discussing the for loop, and for the for loop we will be solving a very interesting programming exercise. We would be attempting to code the Fizzbuzz assessment. So what the Fizzbuzz assessment does is, for multiples of 3, the program would be expected to print fizz. For multiples of 5, the program will be expected to print buzz. Then for multiples of 3 and 5, we are expecting the program to print Fizzbuzz. That is, if I have a number between, let's say, 1 to 20, number 3 would print fizz, number 5 would print buzz, then number 15, which is a multiple of both 3 and 15, would print, number 15, which is a multiple of both 3 and 5, would print Fizzbuzz. Alright, just before we get into it, do not forget to give a thumbs up to this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so. So for this challenge, I'll be using the for loop in this instance to solve that programming challenge. Okay, so I'll take this off as I do not need that. Let me take this off. Okay, so I'll start by initializing a variable, say I, and then initializing a variable, say num. I would come back to that. So I'll be using the for loop. Now for for loop you need 3 things. You need your initialization, followed by the relationship, and finally you need the increment. Okay, so I'll make this a comment. Okay, so what do we need to do now? So for our for loop, like I said, we begin by the initialization, say I equals to 0. Next is I give the relationship I is less than or equal to, let's say, 20. Let's start with 20. Then the increment is I plus plus. Okay, so then we write out what we want. So at this point now, I will be introducing my if and else statement. Now I'll tell you why I'm introducing my if and else statement. So we have that if I modulo 3 is equals to 0, what do we expect? We expect the system to print fizz with space, close that, else if, now if this time around I okay, so sorry, here I'm supposed to put the double equal to because I'm trying to compare. Terminate my statement here. I expect this to also print buzz this time around. Then else if, now this time around, if I is a modulo 5 instead of 3. Okay, now let me do this here first and let's see what we get as the output. Else print I for us. Now I'm trying to show you something quickly. I. Okay, so after doing all this, we need to close the for loop, so that's out of the for loop. Then we want to print a new line there, and then we terminate that in. So let's run the code now. Okay, sorry, I forgot to terminate my sentence every time. Okay, sorry, didn't terminate here too. Always ensure to terminate your statement. Okay, now you notice let's see, I++. Okay, so now let me start my iteration from 1. Now you notice that after 1 we went to 2. After 2, then we printed fizz. Now after 4, we printed buzz, because buzz, that's 5 representing. Then 6 is a multiple of 3, so we printed fizz. Now notice that the numbers are collapsing into each other, so to fix that, just come here and put a space here. Good. Now the program is running correctly. So 3 is replaced by fizz, 5 is replaced by buzz, 6 again replaced by fizz, 9 replaced by fizz. Okay, so it means the program is running correctly. Now how do we get 15 to print Fizzbuzz for us? Okay, so what I can do is now take a look at something. If I attempt to do an else if here, I mode 5 3 first go to 0, or I mode 5 equivalent to 0, print Fizzbuzz. Okay, let's see what that will give us. Now notice that 15 here is not producing Fizzbuzz, even though this statement is correct. Now the reason why 15 Fizzbuzz is not being printed here to replace 15 is simply because the iterator, once these first conditions are satisfied, does not need to execute the rest of the body of the code. Just automatically returns back to the for loop. So immediately it starts with the first if, and the statement is true. All it does is return back to the body of the code and then iterate accordingly. So in order to fix that, what we need to do is we take this out, and then we put it inside this. So let me replace this now. So instead of having a direct print of fizz, I can say if I mod 3 is equivalent to 0. Okay, so here we already have I mod 3 as 0. So we say if I mod 5 is also equivalent to 0, we expect the program to print for us Fizzbuzz. Okay, so I take this out. Let me make sure this is done correctly. Okay, so if this condition is satisfied, we enter into the body. Now within the body we have another if statement. So if this first condition is true, if the remainder of I divided by 3 gives us 0, we then come back to the body of the code and check again if I divided by 5 will still give us 0 remainder. If that is true, we print Fizzbuzz. Else we then print Fizz instead, if that condition is not true. Okay, so we then close out the if statement. Okay, so now notice that okay, I need to put a space here. Now notice that for 15 now we have Fizzbuzz. So it means the body of the code immediately sees that okay, I divided by 3 is 0, 15 divided by 3, there is no remainder. It comes into the body of the code. Now it takes I again, 15, and divides it by 5. Once the remainder is 0, it gives us Fizzbuzz. But if the remainder is not 0, we simply print Fizz. So that's just basically how to complete that challenge. Now notice that if I had 0 here, 0 will also get printed here, but I don't want 0, so that's why I initialized at 1. Now let me do something very interesting. What if you expect the user to give you the number of iterations that you want the for loop to perform? So let's say I don't have this 20 here, but I want this 20 to be, I want the iteration to be done based on the number supplied by a user. Now that brings us back to the norm here that I initialized. So we use the scanf. First of all, I'll be using the printf. I'll tell you why I'm using the printf. You see that shortly. Please impute the number. Let me say, please impute the value. So scanf now. What do I want the input that I want the scanner to take in? What do I want it to be? Okay, so I want it to be an integer. So %d helps me to accept as an integer. Then I use my and I put my num here to show that I want an input. Okay, so if I run this code again, now you see that I'm required to put in a value. Please input the value. Okay, so if I put in 50, I still get the iteration to run just 20 times. Why? Because I did not replace this 20 here. So I'll put my num here. Then I run the code once again, and then let's say 50. Now you see that the iteration now has run up to 50 times. Notice that 15 is replaced with Fizzbuzz, 30 is replaced with Fizzbuzz because 30 can divide 3 and at the same time can divide 5 without remainder. 45 also is replaced with Fizzbuzz because 45 can divide 3 and also divide 5 without remainder. Alright, so that will be all using for loop and how for loop can be used to run the iteration. Take note once again that to use the for loop, you need your initialization, you need the relationship, and thereafter you need the increment. Okay, so basically this is everything that you need to know about for loop, and I'm sure you were able to see how we were able to include the if and else statements in each of the code.